welcome again, and it is 27 February, day 3 of Putin's war on Ukraine, and I'm struck by listening to this national anthem of Ukraine, how it's almost a prediction of what would happen to Ukraine and how they would respond. And the last line is, "We will not allow others to rule our motherland." Wow. Putin really stepped in a big pile of shit, didn't he? He thought he could just push over Ukraine while they weren't looking or prepared, and it'd be all over in a few days. But his little 18, 19-year-old draftees, some of them don't even know they're invading Ukraine, are having a much harder time than he thought. Anyway, we're going to get into more of this. We're going to get into who's leading Ukraine, what's happening in the news there. But first, I want to find out a little bit about the president of Ukraine. Hold on one second. All right, so my Ukrainian's not great. It's practically non-existent. But this is the Twitter account of Volodymyr Zelensky. Okay? And as you can see, he's got over 3.4 followers, but he follows no one. Okay? All right. Let's see what he says here. So, he just posted this 5 hours ago. Ukraine has submitted its application against Russia to the ICJ, which is the International Court of Justice. Russia must be held accountable for manipulating the notion of genocide to justify aggression. We request an urgent decision ordering Russia to cease military activity now and expect trials to start next week. This is the same tweet, but in Ukrainian or Russian. Had a phone conversation with Boris Johnson. Grateful to the British Prime Minister for his position. New decisions to enhance the combat capabilities of the Ukrainian army. Agreed on further joint steps to counter the aggressor. All right. So he's posting these every couple of hours. There's another one. In a phone conversation, I think... now, my pronunciation's not that great, but I'll do my best. Let's see. Andrzej Duda for his personal leadership in granting Ukraine membership into the EU. The concrete daily assistance of Poland in our country is also invaluable. The Ukraine-Polish relationship is a common history and I'm sure a common European feature. Informed President of Georgia, here we go again, Zorabishvili, and Prime Minister of Czech Republic, P. Flala, about the current situation. Concrete assistance was discussed. Grateful to our friends, Georgia and Czech Republic, for their support. We're going to try to go back like one day every time to kind of cover what he's posted. Thanked Pope Francis, Pontifex, for praying for peace in Ukraine and a ceasefire. The Ukrainian people feel the spirit of support of His Holiness. Here's another one. Germany has just announced the provision of anti-tank grenade launchers and Stinger missiles to Ukraine. Keep it up, Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Anti-war coalition in action. Now you remember that the former Chancellor Merkel refused to give Ukraine any kind of weapons, which is not unusual because usually Germany refuses to export any kind of weapons to any kind of country just because of its past of supporting wars and things like that. So she was trying to break from that. Let's see, according to results of my conversation with AZ, so Azerbaijan President Al BENEFICIARY official gas stations in Ukraine have been instructed to provide fuel for ambulances and SES free of charge. At night, we're waiting for plane and medications from Azerbaijan. Well, that's good. Oh, I forgot to go back and like these. Did I like these? Hold on one second. Yeah, I like that one. I gotta like those. So if you want to show your support for Ukraine, you can go back and spread, or what we call forward, these Twitter accounts here to your friends. And like, because the more you like something, the more Twitter is going to push that in the trending. You see over here it says trending. So the more you like stuff like that, the more it's going to trend. Alright, the largest demonstration in modern history of Estonia took place in support of Ukraine. I am grateful to the Estonian people and Alar Karas, I guess that's him, for the solidarity in these difficult times. Mr. President, our Veshavanka suits you. I guess that's a suit or something from Ukraine he's wearing. All right, so we'll stop there. I'm just trying to go back about 24 hours. I can't go through everything. All right, we'll go forward here. Hold on one second. All right, so this looks like the official Facebook page of the president of Ukraine. You see he's got 1.2 followers. We're going to follow him. And this here is a brief advisory of the head of the office of the president. We'll skip that. We're going to just look for Zelensky speaking. All right, here he is. What the occupiers are doing to Kyiv, I can't pronounce that, Okratsi, Kyiv, Odessa, and other cities and villages is drawn to the International Tribunal. Let's see what he's saying here.
На нашу землю, і яке треба знищити. Вони брехали, що не будуть чіпати цивільне населення. Але з перших годин вторгнення російські війська б'ють по цивільній інфраструктурі. Вони свідомо обрали тактику на ураження людей і усього того, що робить життя просто нормальним. Електростанції, лікарні, дитячі садочки, житлові будинки – все під ударами щоденно. Те, що окупанти роблять Харків.
All right. Gosh, I wish they had a translation of that. All right. So we'll go forward. This here is his Instagram account. And as you can see, he's got over 12 million, 12.3. It's like every time I look at this, every day, it goes up by a couple of million. All right. So we'll take a look. Can't go through all these, we'll just go through the latest one. Oh, this is the same thing as the Facebook. Oh, there's a translation. Let's see what it says here. Hold on.
Українські міста. Вони збираються ще під ця ніч була.
All right, so we'll open this up, take a look at it. And I'll read this out loud. The night was hard. What do they do? This is revenge. The people rose to defend their state. And they showed their true faces.
Це терор. Вони збираються ще більше бомбити наші українські міста. Вони збираються ще підступніше вбивати наших дітей. Це зло, яке прийшло на нашу землю і яке треба знищити. Вони брехали, що не будуть чіпати цивільне населення. Але з перших годин вторгнення російські війська б'ють по цивільній інфраструктурі. Вони свідомо обрали тактику на ураження людей і всього того, що робить життя просто нормальним.
And everything that
електростанції,
makes life worthwhile.
лікарні,
Power plants,
дитячі
hospitals,
садочки, житлові
kindergartens,
будинки, все під
residential
ударами
buildings.
щоденно.
All this is
Те, що
under attack every
окупанти
day.
роблять
What
Харків,
the invaders are doing
Охтирці,
to
Києву,
Kharkiv,
Одесі та
Kyiv,
іншим містам і
Odessa,
селищам тягне
and
на
other
міжнародний
towns deserves
трибунал.
an international
Усі їхні
tribunal.
злочини ми
We
чітко
clearly
фіксуємо.
record all
І
their
цих
crimes.
злочинів було б
And
набагато
there would have
більше,
been
якби
even
не
more
наші
if it had
мужні
been for our
захисники.
courageous
Українські
defenders.
сили усі
Ukrainian
молодці.
forces are great.
Відбивають
Repulse
атаки,
attacks,
ламаючи
breaking the
плани
enemy's
ворога,
plans.
блискуче
They do the
виконують
job
свою
brilliantly.
роботу. Так,
Yes,
це
this
дійсно
is
робота.
truly a
Жорстка
job.
робота,
A hard,
фундаментальна,
fundamental, and
а
mostly
найголовніше
important, fair
справедлива
job.
робота. Робота, яка
job that
заслуговує
deserves
найвищої
the
оцінки,
highest
найвищої
praise.
вдячності.
And
Ухвалено
the highest-
рішення про значне
Wow, he's really speaking
підвищення
fast.
нашим захисникам. Можу сказати вам відверто,
I can
це
honestly
буде
say that it will be
дорого,
expensive.
але немає
There is
нічого
nothing
дорожче,
more
ніж
precious than
життя
life.
і боротьба
And the struggle
за
of our freedom,
свободу
our freedom of our
нас,
next
за свободу
generations.
наших
And
наступних
these
поколінь.
will help us.
І є ті, хто нам допоможе.
And there are those-
Це вже реально.
this
Ми
is
отримуємо
already
зброю,
real.
ліки,
We get weapons,
продукти,
medicine,
дизель,
food, diesel,
гроші, бензин.
a strong
Сформована
international
потужна
coalition
міжнародна
in support.
коаліція на підтримку України. Антивоєнна
An anti-war
коаліція.
coalition.
Ось,
Here is the
будь
latest
ласка,
summary
свіже
of the
зведення
diplomatic
дипломатичного
front
фронту.
line.
Були дуже предметні
There were very
розмови
substantial
з
talks with the Prime
прем'єр-міністром
Minister of the
Нідерландів,
Netherlands,
президентом
the President
Грузії,
of Georgia,
прем'єрами
the
Чехії,
Prime
Словаччини,
Ministers of Czech Republic,
прем'єр-міністром
the Prime
Великобританії
Minister of the
Джонсоном.
UK.
Кожна розмова додала конкретики до
conversation
обороноздатності
is, wow,
нашої
he is
держави і
rolling.
міцності наших військових. Німеччина оголосила про постачання
let you read it.
тисячі протитанкових
1,000
гранатометів та
anti-tank weapons
500
and stingers
стінгерів
from Germany.
з додатковими боєкомплектами. Бельгія дає 5
500
тисяч
machine gun,
кулеметів та
5,000
5 мільйонів
machine guns,
набоїв.
5 million rounds
А
of
ще майже
ammunition from
4
Belgium,
тисячі тонн
4,000
палива.
tons of
Завдяки
fuel.
активній дипломатії домоглися від усіх європейських країн рішення про відключення Росії від СВІФТу. Дякуємо президенту Польщі Анджею Дуді за особисте лідерство у питанні надання членства України в Євросоюзі. Дуже потрібно є і щоденна
Poland
допомога
is pushing for
Польщі
Ukraine's
нашій країні.
membership into the European
Маємо
Union.
назвати речі своїми іменами. Злочинні дії Росії проти України мають ознаку геноциду. Про це я говорив із генсеком ООН. Росія на шляху зла. Світ має прийти до позбавлення Росії права голосу в Радбезі ООН. Українці, ми чітко знаємо, що захищаємо. Ми точно переможемо. Слава кожному нашому солдату. Слава Україні! Ця ніч була тяжкою.
Wow.
Що вони роблять?
He is really very up, like he hasn't slept and he's like on lots of coffee. Now I want to play this video that he put just a couple of days ago. I love it. Okay, let's see. Hopefully they got a translation for this one. Hold on 1 second. Nope, no translation.
Лідер фракції тут, голова Офісу президента тут, прем'єр-міністр Шмигаль тут, Подоляк тут, президент тут. Всі ми тут, наші військові тут, громадяни суспільства тут, всі ми тут. Захищаємо нашу незалежність, нашу державу. І так буде і далі. Слава нашим захисникам, слава нашим захисницям. Слава Україні!
So basically, I've read translations of this. What he's saying is that they're out at night, they're in front of the Parliament building in Kyiv, okay? And he's letting the people of Ukraine know that I haven't gone anywhere. I'm still here. Here's the Prime Minister. This is the Defense Minister. This is the other minister. We're here. We're not leaving. We're going to fight to the death to protect our country. That's balls. That's got big brass fucking balls right there. This guy is incredible. He's not an actor. He's a fucking hero. Look at the expressions on their face. We're not afraid. We're defending our country and we're here. We're not jumping on some plane or some helicopter and flying off to Poland or flying off to Czechoslovakia. We're here. We're fighting. Keep fighting for your country. Wow. If only we had leaders like this in the West. Here's another one. He's out in broad daylight. Broad daylight. They could kill him any day. Snipers, bombers, anything.
Всім доброго ранку.
He's saying the same thing.
Українці.
Right here in front of
Зараз
the
в
Prime
мережі дуже
Minister's
багато
office.
з'явилось фейкової
We're home.
інформації, що,
I'm
немов я
here.
закликаю
I'm not leaving.
складати зброю
We're gonna fight.
нашу армію
God bless
і
Ukraine.
евакуацію. Значить так, я тут, ніякої зброї ми не складемо, будемо захищати нашу державу, тому що наша зброя – це наша правда. Наша правда в тому, що це наша земля, наша країна, наші діти, і ми все це будемо захищати. Ось і все. Ось це і є те, що я хотів вам сказати. Слава Україні!
Slava. Oh yeah. And hey Putin, go fuck yourself. This guy's got massive balls. I mean, he was an actor, a comedian, and he did this role as president in his TV show. Never 2-3 years ago, I'm sure he never, maybe 4 years ago, he never in his wildest dreams believed that this role that he was playing as president would become this real and this dangerous. Because the Russians are trying to kill him. If they could find him, they would bomb him. They would send a cruise missile on top of him and kill him and his family. The Russians are trying to decapitate this democratically elected government that somehow Putin in his paranoia is saying is a puppet of the West and are a bunch of Nazis. This guy's a Jew. He's Jewish. His parents, his grandparents are all Jewish. His great-grandparents and grandparents fought in the resistance against the Germans. Okay? They fought against the Nazis. They're not Nazis. Anyway. He's going to win, and they are winning. All right, we'll keep going. So, everyone has heard of art reflecting reality. That means that people make paintings and movies of things that are real, okay, that are in the real world. But in this case, we have a rare case of art becoming reality. Okay? Here we have a man 4 years ago who was a comedian that started this TV show called Servant of the People. Okay? Where he portrays a president dealing with corruption, the president of Ukraine, and all the things involved in all that. And it was a TV show, very popular TV show in Ukraine. And from that, the ideals from that show, they started a party, a political party, 2-3 years later. And then he became president in 2019. Now, in case you don't know who Volodymyr Zelensky is, in U.S. history, how it came about is that after he became president, the President Trump of our country decided to call Volodymyr Zelensky and basically blackmail him. He wanted this new president. He thought he could push him around because he's a new guy, new president, in the big bad United States. You know, President of the United States calls you, you jump, right? And he thought he could push this guy around, say, hey, I got an election coming up next year. My political opponent, son, did some stuff in your country, and I want your attorney general to investigate him and dig up some shit on him. Okay? So I can basically hurt my political opponent and stop him from becoming the presidential Democratic candidate. Oh, and by the way, if you don't do this, we're going to pull our Javelin missiles and other military aid. You know. And we think it would be great if you would do this for us. And of course, Zelensky, big bad United States calling, powerful United States. Yes, sir, we'll definitely see what we can do. From that phone call was so disturbing to even Trump's own staff members that they notified the NSA and the Attorney General, and the phone call leaked. And from that, Trump was impeached the first time because he tried to use the might of the presidency and our military aid to effect an investigation into a son of his political opponent. Totally against the law. Of course, all the Republicans are all bought and paid for by Vladimir Putin and the Russians, all voted to acquit Donald Trump. All the Democrats voted to convict Donald Trump. We'll go into this in a little bit. But this is Volodymyr Zelensky and how he got started as being president, and where he is now the hero of not only Ukraine, but the free world. All from a TV show. He was an actor, a comedian. And again, this is another case of life imitating art, or art, the lines have crossed so much I can't even tell the difference sometimes now.
Закон один для всех. А иначе, пожалуйста, чемоданы в руки, большой привет.
Вы что, нам угрожаете?
Я сделаю все, чтобы эти законы были приняты.
Смешно.
Что, ты действительно его выпустишь?
Выпущу одного, посажу всех.
Ты долбанулся, что ли? С олигархами нужно поступать точно так же. Столкнуть их лбами, развалить коалицию и договориться с каждым по отдельности.
Полностью переделали ему внешность, его мама родная не узнает.
Вот здесь потверже сделать, тут помягче.
А если по роже?
А чого сидимо, чого не п'ємо?
Хотілося б побачити президента.
Тарас Андреевич, давайте поговорим о вас.
Президент Голобородько призначив Івана Василюка новим губернатором Харківської області.
Голобородько поставил твоего человека. Слушайте этот грохот. Это рушится коалиция.
Сейчас Вася узнает, что такое запорожское гостеприимство.
Даже не думайте.
Президент просить вибачення, він зараз проводить в Раді фінальні консультації.
Надо быть таким идиотом.
О, простите, я не сдержался.
Президент!
Servant of the people. So, who would ever imagine that an actor who took on corruption and the oligarchs in his TV show could now be the president of a country under the boot of Putin, causing Putin so much pain and resisting? Incredible. Wait, what is this? Is that Tom Cruise? Hold on a second. Wow. There he is. President Zelensky meeting Tom Cruise. Wow. 2019.
I can move it.
Wow. This is right after he became president.
Yeah. Yes. We're looking. We're seeing. Very excited about it. Very excited. We've been working together for 13 years, 14 years, 15 years.
Валькирия.
It just gets longer.
We know them
Also, I know them.
Yes, many years.
Yes, many years. They didn't wrote Valkyria, but they're my friends. Thank you very much. We can see it or it doesn't. About the Minsk process, so we have now. Yes. I get up and I'm tired. It's me. You got tired from the very beginning of this day.
You gotta wear it.
Yes. I get up and I'm tired.
Now I hear you mixed a film in Los Angeles. Did you do sound in Los Angeles or something?
Yes. We movies. Sorry for my English.
No,
It's
please,
not-
sorry.
Shoot
I'm
it
so
and
sorry.
make some post-production.
Yeah.
Shoot it and make some post-production.
Yes, we had editing. We had editing in Los Angeles.
No.
Yes, and sound.
Where in Los Angeles?
Specialist, and mostly he did in Los Angeles. You know, he always told me, "Oh, believe me, high level," because he wanted to be at home. You know, but he always told me, "Oh, Andrew already told you, yes, 25 plus 5."
Yeah, cobblestone streets we've seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that was interesting. I had no idea. That was Tom Cruise meeting the servant of the people, Volodymyr Zelensky. So, we're going to do this last video. Hopefully, YouTube won't flag me or red flag me for doing these videos, but they're important. So we'll see what happens. The thing that's gotten crazy about YouTube, especially in the last couple of years, is that if you put anything that's from YouTube that's not your content onto a YouTube video, they usually will block it from now on. I don't know why. You can have all these other, million view companies put videos out and borrow context from everybody else, but when a lowly little individual like me does that, just for what? 2 minutes, 1 minute and 56 seconds, they'll block my video, but we'll see what happens here. So the next one's going to be about Trump and his phone call to Zelensky. All right, we'll see if we can find it. All right, so like I said, the phone call was recorded and was listened to by the, it wasn't a classified phone call, okay? It wasn't nothing secret discussed, but what they did with the file, though, was very interesting. When the president makes a phone call, all phone calls are recorded. And so they will put it into either one or two files after the phone call is finished. If anything classified or secret or top secret was discussed in the phone call, they'll put it in the classified safe, which means no one has access to it except for people that have the top secret clearances to listen to that tape. If it's just a general conversation, a diplomatic thing, and nothing classified, they'll put it in the diplomatic file where it's unclassified. This phone call, nothing top secret or classified was discussed, but the staffers were so disturbed by the contents of the phone call. Basically, they knew that what Trump was doing was wrong. It was basically trying to blackmail Zelensky. Hey, if you don't investigate my political opponent because of his son Hunter Biden's business in your country, we're going to withhold U.S. weapons. And now you see the importance of that, because now Trump's not in office. This is why Putin is invading Ukraine, okay? Because he knows that Biden's probably only going to be in office 4 years, and then maybe even more a more aggressive American president will come up, like Kamala Harris, okay? So he wants to get done what he can do in Ukraine now. He thinks Biden is weak. There was no reason to do anything in Ukraine when Trump was in office, because they already held Donbass and Lyshenko and the Crimea. And that all happened under, Trump didn't do anything to stop them. And so that's why when Trump's out of office, Trump's not there anymore, they're doing the things they're doing now. They're testing Biden to see if he has the balls to stand up against them and what he'll do. And they're trying to shut down this Zelensky guy and make Ukraine a province. Now, before this, they were trying to use Zelensky to see how weak he was or how strong he was, because remember, this phone call occurs within 2 months after Zelensky gets into office and becomes the president. But anyway, what they've done, they don't read everything. They just kind of, in this article, they just kind of skim over the most important things.
Congratulations on a great victory. We all watched from the United States, and you did a terrific job. The way you came from behind somebody who wasn't given much of a chance, and you ended up winning easily. It's a fantastic achievement. Congratulations.
You are absolutely right, Mr. President. We did win big, and we worked hard for this. We worked a lot, but I would like to confess to you that I had an opportunity to learn from you. We used quite a few of your skills and knowledge, and were able to use it as an example for our elections. And yes, it is true that these were unique elections. We were in a unique situation that we were able to achieve a unique success.
Oh, wow. So I'm sorry, I'm mixing this up with the Vox News transcript. This is actually an actual reading of the entire transcript. But again, this is not the full transcript. This is a summary transcript, okay? That's not taken from the file that was in the classified safe. So we'll take a look here.
I'm able to tell you the following the first time. You called me to congratulate me when I won my presidential election. And the second time, you are now calling me when my party won the parliamentary election. I think I should run more often so you can call me more often and we can talk over the phone more often.
That's a very good idea. I think your country is very happy about it.
You see, Zelensky's trying to figure out why Trump is calling him. He only called me twice, when I won presidency and then when I won the parliament. And he didn't call any other time. So I wonder why he's calling me now. That's what his question is, right there. And he's soon going to find out.
That.
Well, yes, to tell you the truth, we are trying to work hard because we wanted to drain the swamp here in our country. We brought in many new
He's
people.
trying to kiss
not
up
the old
to Trump.
politicians, not the typical politicians, because we want to have a new format and a new type of government. You are a great teacher for us, and in that.
Well, it's very nice of you to say that. I will say that we do a lot for Ukraine. We spend a lot of effort and a lot of time. Much more than the European countries are doing, and they should be helping you more than they are.
You see what
Germany
he's doing?
does almost nothing for you. All they do is talk, and I think it's something that you should really ask them about. When I was speaking to Angela Merkel, she talks Ukraine, but she doesn't do anything. A lot of the European countries are the same way, so I think it's something you want to look at. But the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine. I wouldn't say that it's reciprocal necessarily, because things are happening that are not good, but the United States has been very, very good to Ukraine.
Yeah.
So you see what Trump's doing? He's buttering up Zelensky. Hey, you're the new kid on the block. And in case you didn't know, we've done a lot of things for Ukraine, and it's sort of like the Godfather speaking. And it's like, we've done all these good things for Ukraine, and someday, I may ask you for a favor for all these great things that we've done for Ukraine. And, I may call upon you for a favor. And he's just about to do his little Godfather routine here.
Yes, you are absolutely right. Not only 100%, but actually 1,000%. And I can tell you the following. I did talk to Angela Merkel and I did meet with her. I also met and talked with Macron, and I told them that they are not doing quite as much as they need to be doing on the issues with the sanctions. They are not enforcing the sanctions. They are not working as much as they should work for Ukraine. It turns out that even though logically the European Union should be our biggest partner, but technically the United States is a much bigger partner than the European Union, and I'm very grateful to you for that, because the United States is doing quite a lot for Ukraine, much more than the European Union, especially when we are talking about sanctions against the Russian Federation. I would also like to thank you for your great support in the area of defense. We are ready to continue to cooperate for the next step. Specifically, we are almost ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes.
I would like you to
By
do us
the way-
a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot, and Ukraine knows a lot about it. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say crowd strike. I guess you have one of your wealthy people. The server, they say Ukraine has it. There are a lot of things that went on, the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it. As you saw yesterday, that whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller. An incompetent performance.
Wow.
But they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible.
Yes, it is very...
So he's laying the groundwork, because this is what he's being told by his staff, okay, is that, a lot of the Republican spin is that the interference in the election, the emails being hacked into Hillary's emails was coming from Ukraine. It wasn't. This is Russian disinformation and propaganda that someone on Trump's staff is buying, and they're passing it on to Trump. Most likely, it was Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, one of that group right there. They're passing this disinformation that Russia didn't do it. It was someone in Ukraine, and now he's putting the pressure on to this new Zelensky president, saying, hey, we want you to investigate, because this is what my people are saying. It was coming from Ukraine, somewhere in Ukraine. So, of course, it's not you, but it's the people before you.
Very important for me and everything that you just mentioned earlier. For me as a president, it is very important, and we are open for any future cooperation. We are ready to open a new page on cooperation relations between the United States and Ukraine. For that purpose, I just recalled our ambassador from the United States, and he will be replaced by a very competent and very experienced ambassador who will work hard on making sure that our two nations are getting closer. I would also like and hope to see him having your trust and your confidence, and have personal relations with you, so we can cooperate even more so. I will personally tell you that one of my assistants spoke with Mr. Giuliani just recently, and we are hoping very much that Mr. Giuliani will be able to travel to Ukraine, and we will meet once he comes to Ukraine. I just wanted to assure you once again that you have nobody but friends around us. I will make sure that I surround myself with the best and most experienced people. I also wanted to tell you that we are friends. We are great friends. And you, Mr. President, have friends in our country, so we can continue our strategic partnership. I also plan to surround myself with great people. And in addition to that investigation, I guarantee as a president of Ukraine that all the investigations will be done openly and candidly. That I can assure you.
Good, because I heard you had a prosecutor who was very good and he was shut down, and that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that, the way they shut your very good prosecutor down, and you had some very bad people involved. Mr. Giuliani is a highly respected man. He was the mayor of New York City, a great mayor, and I would like him to call you. I will ask him to call you along with the Attorney General. Rudy very much knows what's happening, and he is a very capable guy. If you could speak to him, that'd be great. The former ambassador from the United States, the woman, was bad news. And the people she was dealing with in the Ukraine were bad news. So I just want to let you know that. The other thing, there's a lot of talk about...
All right, so we're going to stop there just for a second. So what Trump is talking about, there was a former prosecutor of Ukraine, okay, and this is one of the reasons why Zelensky is president, because of all the corruption. The former prosecutor of Ukraine refused to investigate the oligarchs and their ties to Russia and their corruption that was going on. This is one of the reasons why Zelensky won the election, is because of all the corruption going on. And then when he came in, he appointed a new prosecutor. So what Trump is trying to say is that, or the other prosecutor before Zelensky was shut down, what Trump is trying to say is that Biden came in, okay, when Obama was president, and basically threatened to cut off aid to Ukraine unless they got rid of this prosecutor. And there was a reason for that, is because he wasn't investigating the oligarchs and all these things. And this is all before the first war happened in 2014. So now he's trying to make it look like Biden was corrupt when Biden was just following orders of Obama, because that government at that time in 2013-14 wasn't investigating the oligarchs.
Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that, so whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution, so if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me.
I wanted to tell you about the process.
And then boom, he slips in the thing about Hunter Biden. That's Joe Biden's son. Okay, what he just did was a felony and also treasonous, and enough to get him impeached by what he just said in his little 2 sentences right there, asking a foreign leader to investigate his political opponent son is an impeachable offense. He would have been impeached as president, but all the Republicans didn't see the big deal in him asking something like that.
Prosecutor. First of all, I understand, and I'm knowledgeable about the situation. Since we have won the absolute majority in our parliament, the next prosecutor general will be 100% my person, my candidate, who will be approved by the parliament and will start as a new prosecutor in September. He or she will look into the situation specifically to the company that you mentioned in this issue. The issue of the investigation of the case is actually the issue of making sure to restore the honesty, so we will take care of that and will work on the investigation of the case. On top of that, I would kindly ask you if you have any additional information that you can provide to us. It would be very helpful for the investigation to make sure that we administer justice in our country with regard to the ambassador to the United States from Ukraine. As far as I recall, her name was Ivanovich. It was great that you were the first one who told me that she was a bad ambassador, because I agree with you 100%. Her attitude towards me was far from the best, as she admired the previous president and she was on his side. She would not accept me as a new president well enough.
Well, she's going to go through some things. I will have Mr. Giuliani give you a call, and I'm also going to have Attorney General Barr call, and we will get to the bottom of it. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I heard the prosecutor was treated very badly, and he was a very fair prosecutor, so good luck with everything. Your economy is going to get better and better, I predict. You have a lot of assets. It's a great country. I have many Ukrainian friends. They're incredible people.
I would like to tell you that I also have quite a few Ukrainian friends that live in the United States. Actually, last time I traveled to the United States, I stayed in New York, near Central Park, and I stayed at the Trump Tower. I will talk to them, and I hope to see them again in the future. I also wanted to thank you for your invitation to visit the United States, specifically Washington, D.C. On the other hand, I also want to assure you that we will be very serious about the case and will work on the investigation. As to the economy, there is much potential for our two countries, and one of the issues that is very important for Ukraine is energy independence. I believe we can be very successful in cooperating on energy independence with the United States. We are already working on cooperation. We are buying American oil, but I am very hopeful for a future meeting. We will have more time and more opportunities to discuss these opportunities and get to know each other better. I would like to thank you very much for your support.
Good. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate that. I will tell Rudy and Attorney General Barr to call. Thank you. Whenever you would like to come to the White House, feel free to call. Give us a date and we'll work that out. I look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much. I would be very happy to come and would be happy to meet with you personally and get to know you better. I am looking forward to our meeting, and I also would like to invite you to visit Ukraine and come to the city of Kyiv, which is a beautiful city. We have a beautiful country which would welcome you. On the other hand, I believe that on September 1st, we will be in Poland and we can meet in Poland hopefully. After that, it might be a very good idea for you to travel to Ukraine. We can either take my plane and go to Ukraine, or we can take your plane, which is probably much better than mine.
Okay, we can work that out.
Wow.
I look forward to seeing you in Washington and maybe in Poland, because I think we're going to be there at that time.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Congratulations on a fantastic job you've done. The whole world was watching. I'm not sure it was so much of an upset, but congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President. Bye-bye.
All right. So that all seems kind of innocent, right? Well, not exactly, because they had, after the phone call...
Unfortunately,
he withheld. Trump withheld the military aid until Giuliani talked to Zelensky's people and confirmed that they were going to open an investigation into Hunter Biden, and then after that, then they released the military aid that Ukraine was needing. So, you see, he's not going to get on there and say to Zelensky that he's going to do that, but they did that, and that's exactly what happened. Here's another one from April, almost a year ago, Zelensky on the call with Trump.
For many Americans, when they hear your name, what comes to mind is that phone call with Donald Trump and the impeachment of Donald Trump. They wonder what was going on for you. What was going through your head?
Ви знаєте, я чесно кажу, що найголовніших речей,
Honestly, the main thing I read when my name appears in different media outlets,
на сторінках тих чи інших медіа,
I read that Trump put pressure. Pressure? Well, I was very offended to hear this. Why? Because I am the president of Ukraine. We may be smaller than the United States, but we are an independent Ukraine. We proved this to Russia when we kept our territory. We continue to prove that we are an independent country. This is why he did not pressure me. I will never say that. There was one unpleasant thing. Until now, I have not spoken about this. The publishing of our conversation. I think this is very wrong. And it was not Ukraine who made it public. I would never let that happen. I think no matter what we talked about,
перша серйозна розмова між двома президентами, між стратегічними.
This conversation was the first serious conversation between two presidents, between strategic partners.
Опубліковувати такі речі.
And in any case, neither of us had the right to make such things public.
Ми не належимо самі собі через
because these are personal things.
Обрав народ, але
Sure, we do not belong to ourselves because we are presidents who were chosen by our people, but I believe this simply should not have happened. I believe that was wrong.
I can see you're angry with President Trump. Maybe a little bit, huh?
A little bit?
I mean, you must have been thinking, what in God's name is happening here?
Jonathan, honestly, I didn't see it like that.
Я не так до цього.
For me, the most important thing was to preserve our relationship.
Наші відносини для мене було
найголовніше,
щоб ми чули, що ми.
It was most important to hear that we as countries support each other.
And there you go. All right, so we'll keep driving on here. Got about 10 more minutes left. We're just going to do a little bit of news. And then we'll get into discovering more about Volodymyr Zelensky. Okay? All right, so hold on one second.
And Ukraine's second largest city of Kyiv after Russian forces moved in. This following the ongoing bombardment of Kyiv and video capturing a fire at an oil depot outside the city near an airbase.
New images now of fighting across the country, crews sifting through rubble looking for survivors. This morning, media groups in Ukraine are now all banding together to broadcast in a single newscast. You see them there in an underground parking garage. They're providing uninterrupted coverage and combating any misinformation from Russian state media.
In Russia, President Putin praised his troops for carrying out the invasion to protect their country and its national interest. Our team is on the ground in the region, covering the crisis from all the angles. Let's get the latest now on the ground in the Ukrainian capital. ABC's Ian Pannell joins us now live from Kyiv. Good morning to you, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, Eva. Morning, guys. This is a city, a country on almost total war footing now. There's been a 39-hour curfew in place. That's overnight, throughout the day today and into Monday morning. There is nothing out on the streets, almost no noise apart from the sound of battle. There's real anticipation here in Kiev about what's to come. But in Kyiv, the country's second largest city, the Russians have launched what looks like an all-out offensive. This morning, intense battles reported in Ukraine's second largest city, Kyiv, as Russian forces enter the city. but Ukrainian troops mounting what appears to be a strong defence. Heavy overnight bombardment was followed by what the Ukrainian Defence Ministry says is 2 armed units pushing into Kyiv today. One appears to have been disabled amid social media videos of street fighting. At least 240 civilian casualties have been reported, including 64 dead, although the true number is likely higher. The Russian attacks also focusing on key infrastructure. We filmed a massive fire burning south of Kyiv, lighting up the night sky after an oil refinery was struck. Although Russian forces are more powerful, Ukrainian troops and civilians are putting up a stiff fight. A senior defense official telling ABC that Putin's troops have run into more resistance than anticipated. But the Kremlin this morning claiming more than 400 Ukrainian service members have surrendered. The country's president, Zelensky, refusing to leave the capital, rallying his countrymen, saying, "We will keep fighting, and if babies come into this world even under shelling and fire, then the enemy has no chance in this war." He was referring to this, a baby born in the basement of a hospital in a city under siege. The mayor of Kyiv and his brother Vladimir Klitschko are former world heavyweight boxing champions. They're rallying the city and appealing to the world.
Stop this war that Russia has started.
US officials saying that more than 50% of the 150,000 Russian troops amassed outside of Ukraine are now inside the country. In Kyiv, the military and civilian volunteers lining up to receive weapons, ready to dig in and fight to protect the capital.
We want to make sure that the world knows that Russia's main target is right now to take the city.
Under curfew and the threat of bombardment at any time, Ukraine 24 anchors moving their reporting to a parking garage. All major news networks now working together. And for many trapped in Kyiv, life has moved underground. Whole families finding shelter in underground metro stations. This is now a nationwide effort. Alina Mishkor is baking bread for the troops. She spoke to us from inside her darkened home, leaving the lights off for safety.
If we are attacked from air, we actually have no shelter because we live in the private house and it's very old. It wouldn't stand the shots.
Well, the Kremlin saying that it sent a negotiating team to Minsk, the Belarusian capital. President Zelensky saying he won't be sending a team, not least because Belarus is now a party to this conflict, suggesting instead that they meet in a neutral country. I think many analysts are now thinking that the Russian advance may not have gone as fast or as easy as Putin imagined, but it's worth emphasising this is still early days with reports that more forces and armaments are heading this way. Eva?
And Ian, on that note, Germany now changing their policy about sending weapons into conflict zones, saying they will help Ukraine. How does this help Ukraine's defense?
Yeah, I mean, Eva, this is huge. I mean, this has been a long-standing policy by Germany not to send offensive weapons into active conflict areas, and it shows how far Germany has shifted. It's not the only one. It's sending 500 Stinger missiles. These are surface-to-air missiles capable of taking out helicopters, certainly trying to balance the equation with these overwhelmingly powerful Russian forces. America are also sending weapons to Czech Republic and Poland. The question is that too little, and is it too late? Eva?
Yeah, we'll have to watch and see. Ian panel for us there in Ukraine.
All right, there you go. So, all right, so we're gonna keep doing this every day. We're gonna go over Zelensky's, the Ukrainian army's Twitter posts, Facebook posts, the social media. And we're gonna look at what's happening with the news there, and then I'm gonna end every time. I've started an agency called Ukrainian Defense Agency. This is what this video is all about. And a lot of people are asking, how can we help Ukraine? I've just jotted down a few things that I have found myself. Sorry, I got to correct my spelling mistakes there. Number one, just off the top of my head here, write your elected officials and demand Russia end the war in Ukraine and withdraw troops back to Russia. Pretty, common sense though. Number two, show your support for the Ukrainian government and people by sharing their Twitter, Facebook, etc. posts on social media and with your friends. And also you can like and share this video or my videos on social media to get the word out. You can donate to the Red Cross, the Mercy Corps, and other charities assisting Ukraine and its people. And I'm going to start putting a little list here, but I've kind of looked this up. There's Airlink, which provides non-profit organization providing airlift of emergency supplies to relief workers from 138 organizations responding to disasters and humanitarian crises, including COVID. There's CARE, Cooperative for Assistance and Relief Everywhere. CARE is a leading humanitarian organization fighting global poverty. We place special focus on working alongside poor women because equipped with the proper resources, women have the power to help. So those are just a few things you can do. You can also donate money to the Ukrainian government so they can buy needed medical supplies, food, and weapons to fight and defeat the Russians. I came up with an action plan from going through all the social media and seeing what people are talking about, and I came up with this list. Complete travel ban on all Russian citizens. No Russians or Belarusians are allowed to fly out of Russia, Belarus, through or to U.S. NATO countries. That'll put a lot of pressure, because the only way you can put sanctions on Putin and his military people and his government people, but the only way this war is going to end is if you put pressure on the Russian people, and then they'll put pressure on Putin to end this war. Okay, that's the only way. Expel all Russian, Belarusian nationals from the U.S., NATO countries, including diplomats, students, business persons, etc. Let the Russians know there's a price. You know, it's not just going to be Putin that's going to be paying the price. All of the Russians around the world are going to pay the price for what their leader, Putin, is doing. So only they can solve the situation by expelling Putin. Expel Russian, Belarusian, Russia from the UN Assembly and Security Council. Unbelievably, Russia is still a member of the Security Council. Okay, and with China on there, they've got veto power off of any resolutions. Okay, close all Russian, Belarusian embassies, consulates, banks, businesses, etc. in NATO and U.S. countries all around the world. Shut them down, shut them off. Ban all Russian, Belarusian athletes and sports teams from games, sports, competitions outside of Russia or Belarus. Complete economic blockade of all Russian and Belarusian companies, products, military equipment, banking, other exports, including gas, oil, coal, agriculture, etc. Now, this is going to be painful for everybody, but especially for the Russians. If the Russians have no jobs, no money, and they can't eat, guess where they're going to take out their anger? Not on Washington, D.C., not on NATO, not on Ukraine, but on the Kremlin. Expel Russian, Belarusian international organizations. That means any kind of charity, non-profit, any kind of international organization outside of Russia and Belarus. Expel them and their people from the country. Issue arrest warrants, ICC, the International Criminal Court, or the ICJ, I believe. I should change that, the ICJ, International Court of Justice. Post Interpol alerts for all Russian, Belarusian leadership and military leaders. Make it where they're stuck in Russia. They can't travel anywhere. They can't do anything. Arm the Ukrainian resistance with Javelin anti-tank weapons and Stinger anti-aircraft missiles and whatever other arms they need. Specifically for the anti-tank Javelin missiles, these are highly effective for destroying tanks, because not only do they hit the tanks, they go up in the air and come down onto the softer armor, the top armor of the tanks. Basically, it comes down to this: the more dead Russian draftees that are sent home in body bags, the more mothers and grandmothers will be storming the walls of the Kremlin. Basically, it's just that simple. Unfortunately, in all wars, it's always young men, innocent men that have nothing to do with the fighting, that pay the highest price. We have to make their families pay that price, so they have a decision to make. Are we going to keep supporting this guy and this regime, Putin and his little fascist regime, or are we going to make the change? Because only the Russians can make the change of their government. You're not going to have NATO. You're not going to have Ukrainian troops marching on Moscow. It's not going to happen. That would be a disaster for the world. Putin would automatically launch his nuclear weapons. The only way regime change comes to Moscow and the Kremlin is by the Russians themselves. Immediately accept Ukraine membership into NATO and the EU. Got to put the EU here. This is a working list here. Establish no-fly zone over all of Ukraine. Any non-Ukrainian, non-NATO aircraft will be shot down. Start bombing. This is NATO and the U.S. Start bombing Russian military bases and equipment inside Ukraine. Ukraine has no air force. They need air support. Send in U.S. and NATO special forces into all of Ukraine to aid in resistance. Those people, they have a good willing to fight, but they need training. They need assistance on what targets to hit and how to hit them. Move U.S. and NATO forces into western Ukraine to establish safe zones for refugees and exile government. Now, from Kyiv all the way over to Poland is completely Russian free. If NATO moved into that area and established a free zone and a red line, that would put the Russians on notice that their offensive is over. Encourage Russian troops to surrender, return back to Russia, and get out of Ukraine. So I'm going to go over this every day now. We'll just keep doing the same thing. We'll go over Zelensky's social media, the Ukrainian military social media, everyone that's relevant in this fight. We'll go over the latest news, and then I'll end here on how you can support them. I'm sure there are other ideas that I haven't thought of. Rack your brain. Get together with your friends. Share this video. Contact your elected officials. Do what you can do. You can't do everything, but everyone doing something is better than doing nothing. All right. Until tomorrow. All right. I got to learn this Ukrainian phrase, but I will. All right, take care. Here it is. I found it. It's Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. Translation, glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. All right, there we go. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.